Hey everybody, I'm Booney Crawford and thank you for being with us. Today we're doing a special video. We're combining all of our vlog channels, our podcast into one for a very special guest today, and I hope you'll stay with me. We're combining catching up with the Crawfords, the Crawford Property Group, Fame Ministries, all in coordination with Fame Media Productions. So stay with us and we'll be right back with you. Hey everybody, I'm Booney Crawford of Fame Ministries and Media Productions. Today's video is being sponsored and underwritten by the Crawford Property Group. We list and sell in Tennessee, Virginia, Florida, and California. Our motto is selling homes from Dollywood to Hollywood. So if you're in the market for real estate, whether you're buying or selling, give us a call, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. Thanks for being with us. Well, welcome back, and I just want to say what an honor it is for me today to have this guest with me, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I want you to welcome with me Coach John McCrary. Coach, what an honor it is to be with you.
Well, Booney, it's a pleasure to be here, and I was still amazed that you get up here and talk to people, because the 4 years you played for me, you hardly said a word.
Well, it's a God thing for sure, but
yeah.
you know, I wanted to do this video here at the old Lynn View gym, and what a place that brings back so many memories, and just wanted to talk to you about some of those memories that you have.
Well, this is a great place. Now, during my career, which ended last July after 58 years, this place was special. We had a great family atmosphere. We had great kids, had a terrific principal, Mr. Carl Matherly, and of course I was just a kid when I came here in 1966, and this place was a blessing. Mm-hmm. And we had some really great teams in here, because they ask me all the time, they say, "Coach, what does it take to be a good coach?" I said, "Good players." It really helps. So we had some great players. This little gym here was a weapon. I mean, after our first couple of years, we got it rolling, and our home games were packed always, and the visitor tried to get in, couldn't get in, because it was already packed. And this place is a lot of great memories.
Well, I know you had a lot of players come up under you, and you know, I don't want you to name names, but just like challenges you had with players. And I know that coaching is you have your ups and your downs, but you have those certain players. I mean, how did you deal with that?
Well, you know, the thing, when I first started coaching, I wanted to make sure that if I had kids who had the ability and wanted to play beyond high school, I wanted to make sure that I gave them every opportunity to accentuate their skills. And we certainly had some trials and tribulations. The Arnold family, some of the greatest athletes. I mean, from the oldest, from Billy down to the youngest, to Granville, those guys were great players. And but it was it was work trying to keep them in line. And I thought, even their daughter Rita was a terrific athlete too. And a lot of people will ask me who's the best player ever played for me. I said, well, hands down, it was Rodney Arnold. I mean, the guy was unbelievable. I mean, he was, but he's the same guy who got kicked out of the regional finals for spitting on the referee. Now, he didn't mean to. He was trying to spit on another player. But, you know,
Well, I had to agree. I mean, growing up watching those guys, I mean, I remember being in the 7th, 8th grade out in my backyard in my dirt court
Yeah.
trying to imitate the Rodney and Tommy show.
Yeah.
And so
Oh.
it was great getting to know them. And of course,
Yes.
Granville being in my class, or he was a year behind me, but
Yeah.
just getting to know them and watch them play was, it really was encouraging but challenging.
Oh, very, very challenging. And, those kids, they were special. I mean, they had some special abilities, and they wanted to be good. And that's the thing that they asked me, what did I look for in a player? I said, well, you want to look, what do they want to do? They just want to come in here and play on Tuesday and Friday and go home, and I guess that's fine and everything, but if you want to be good, then I tried my best to encourage them. I never did worth a nickel with reluctant players. Number one, I didn't like them. If you want to play, you want to be good, and that was my mantra. That's what I strive for.
Well, I remember, a lot of times I was trying to think back to the days like at halftime, being down in that locker room down there. I don't remember any of it, but there were certain things that I remember during practice that you would say to me, and one of them was you got to have the killer instinct. If you don't have the killer instinct, you can't play.
Yeah.
And I never really knew what that meant. I mean, because I guess when I was playing and I had 4 other guys around me, I was thinking of them,
Yeah.
not myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it meant to, I'm gonna make you look bad. I'm gonna take you to the hole. So
Yeah.
what, speaking on that line, what was one of the hardest things that you tried to get across to players, but they just never got it?
Well, everybody has a ceiling and everybody has a basement. To try to get those kids to reach up there and go beyond their comfort level, to go above that comfort level with effort and confidence. Now, those things are kind of in hand. You got to have both of those if you're going to be successful, both of them. I had a kid who was there shortly after, well, he was partly with when the Rodney was here, and he didn't have the killer instinct, and he just he would just go along, and well, okay, and I worked with him, and I really wanted to jack him up and just smack him, but you can't do that, and I didn't do that, but finally, he got it, and he became an all-state player because of it.
Mm-hmm. How do you think, I don't know if you want me to say this or not, but I remember one day you came in and you was in front of the team and you said, you know what, my granddad was a cusser, my dad was a cusser, and I'm a cusser. And, we knew what we were going to get. When we came in here, as a freshman coming into this place, coming from West View, I knew what I was going to get, and that was fine.
Yeah.
But there was a day that I came down to Sullivan North High School to watch y'all practice one day. And I watched that practice, and you were sitting over on the sideline, and I said, Coach, if we'd have done that there, I said, we'd have never got away with that. We'd still be running.
Yeah.
And you said, if I treated them the way I treated you all, they'd all quit.
That was true.
So how did your coaching style change from the early days up until you retired? How did it change?
Well, you go in there and you have to have a feel for how much can they handle. Now you guys, I gave it to you bad. I mean, and you all responded well. And we had an influx of other players coming from Kettering into North, and they were very unaccustomed to any discipline or hard work. You know, so it was kind of a balancing act of trying to incorporate them into what we wanted to do. As a matter of fact, we had one kid, I'm not going to mention his name, but we went to camp down in Florida State. And he, of course, came from Kettering over to, and he wanted to be a player and everything, but very undisciplined. And I set the rules down. I said, now this is how it is, guys. Now, if you try me, I'll send you home in a heartbeat. So I had room check. I went down.
I remember.
He wasn't in his room. He wasn't there. And I said, well, darn. So I went back another hour. He wasn't there. So I just took a chair, set it down outside of his room. We came in there about 6:30 in the morning, coming on in. And I said, he said, Coach, I just went out to get something to drink. I said, no. I've been here all night. I know. He said, well, Coach, I met this girl down there, and she was special and everything. I said, well, I'll tell you what, Tim. When this afternoon, I want you to take me out there and let me meet this girl. Let's go see if she's worth your high school career.
I remember that.
And so that, of course, he's apologetic and you know all this. So he took her down there and met this girl. Now on a scale of 1 to 10, this girl was about a 14. I mean, she was really a looker. So that night we go in and all the other coaches said, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to send him home? I said, boys, I don't know whether I should send him home or give him a medal.
But
funny. We worked out, and he stayed with us. And he did a pretty good job. Well, so you know those things that come about, you just have to play it by ear. There's no manual that shows you how to do this. You just, to be successful, you got to be a people person. You have to understand. You have to care about people. Mm-hmm. I mean, your group that came through here, I loved you guys. Y'all worked hard. You wanted to be good. You tried everything, and then we made a couple mistakes coaching you when it counted the most. And we took something for granted. We forgot that Grandma was only a sophomore. And we're down there in the sub-state, and his assignment was to come and foul this guy as soon as he got the ball, but he had 4 fouls and he wouldn't do it, or he didn't do it. So we ended up losing the game. And then it turns on the next play, and he walked. We had a layup to go to win the game. But, you know, that's water under the bridge.
I remember.
You know, I've told somebody, they said, well, you've had a lot of success coaching. I said, well, Yeah, I said, but also, I've had a lot of failures coaching. I figured I had 7 chances to win the state championship and came away with none. So I'm president of the Coaches Association that couldn't win the big one.
Well, I tell you what, that still haunts me, that
Me
we
too.
couldn't get it done for you.
Yeah.
Because we really wanted to do that.
Oh, I know. I wanted us to do that.
But, I
But
mean,
that's how it goes. First you money, then you close.
yeah, but I remember that week going down to Florida State to that camp because for some reason I was chosen to go to Boys State.
Yeah.
Which was like this honor thing.
I did too.
And I don't know why they chose me, or it was some kind of leadership thing, but I remember I had already been, I'm trying to think, I'd already been to the BC All-Stars camp in Milledgeville, Georgia.
Yeah.
Came home, repacked, went straight to Boys State.
Yeah.
And Bob Allen, and I don't know if Bob Copus was supposed to come, but they were supposed to come down there and pick us up and drive us on down to Florida State.
Yeah.
For that camp. Well, something happened, and we didn't get to go straight there. We had to come back to Kingsport and get on that bus and drive all the way back to Florida. So that weekend and week, or 3 weeks there, I remember them well.
Yeah.
So, but we had a good time there, and I just, kind of want to talk to you about. You talk about your coaching change, the way you approached players from the early days up until, even, to, I guess, Twin Springs.
Yeah. Well, of course, when I first started, I was Jim Fleming's assistant. Now, Jim Fleming was a different animal. Gosh almighty. The players were scared to death of him. I mean, he wanted it that way,
Mm-hmm.
And I had a hard time dealing with that because that's not me, and that's not how I approach things. You're gonna go to battle together. Everybody's kind of got to be on the same side. But then I had worked with Bob Chambers before Jim Fleming came back, and he was a different kind of coach too. He would talk to the players, and he tried to get the most out of them. And he did a couple of things that I just didn't. He'd tell them lies. He'd tell you're a big time player, and I said, God, this guy's not a big time player. You're going to set him up for disappointment. But anyway, I always tried to be upfront and honest with the kids as best I can. I wasn't always right or anything. I always have all the answers or everything, but I always was trying to do the best I could do with it. And then Jim Fleming came, and he scared me. he was rough on those kids, but I really felt like he was a tortured human being. I mean, he's a great fundamental coach. I mean, he really was. The fundamentals, he drilled them in there, and they were very good. And then I got out here on my own. I said, "Oh Lordy, here we go." But one thing that really, really helped me is I had a great assistant coach. Bobby Way was one of the finest people, finest persons that you could ever want to be around. The guy, he was disciplined. He cared about the kids. He was very smart, very smart. He came up with. We started coaching. He said, "How you going to do this?" I said, "Well, I'm going to do it as good as I." He said, "You're going to coach it all yourself?" I said, "No. I'll tell you what. You coach defense, I'll coach offense." So here we go. And he studies and comes up with all kinds of tricks and did a great job. My only regret about Bobby is he never had a chance to have a team of his own. He would have been a great coach.
Well, I had him on my list to come and talk about, but I'm glad you brought him up. And
I thought the world of him. It about killed me when he retired.
I remember my sophomore year. I don't remember where we were going. It seemed like it was like Irwin or Mountain City or somewhere.
To scrimmage or play?
No, we were going to play a game.
Yeah.
And we were on the bus going up there, and I remember I always sit up in the front with you all going to them games. And you turned around and you said, "Do you want to start tonight?" And I'm a sophomore.
Yeah.
I think it's like 4th or 5th game into the season.
Yeah.
And you said, "Do you want to start tonight?" And I'm looking around, and Coach Way said, "Say yes, stupid." So from that moment, and I remember I scored 17 points that night, my first start. And from then on, it was, we just did our thing.
We went after it, didn't we?
Yeah. And I loved the way he, taught us to play defense and those schemes that he came up with, and you all making us do station drills. And one thing I would have to say to you that I wish you'd never done is you required us to run cross country if we were going to play basketball, and you made us run that river road. I don't know how many times we had to do that, but golly, that was me. I hated cross country. Hated it.
Well, I remember the time you all left and didn't come back.
No.
We're up here waiting. They didn't come back. You didn't come back. So we got in the car, went down there and drove the course and went down there along the river. And were you in that group? And that somebody had thrown out a bag of Playboys.
No, it was not me. I don't have to say no, I
and
didn't do that.
penthouses. They all went down there and had those things out.
That's funny.
And we made them finish the run.
I do remember the night or the day we was running that cross country meet up at Kettering, and Ricky Roop hid in the woods until the very end.
Ricky Roop. Goodness.
All right, let's transition from good old Lynn View High School to Sullivan North. And I remember we were down in the theater down here. Well, I don't remember what we called it, down here at the end of the hall.
Yeah.
Having a meeting about what the school was going to be called and the colors and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, again, for some reason, I was chosen to go up to Sullivan North and look it over before it ever even opened.
Yeah.
And thinking, this is going to be different.
Oh yeah.
And half the facilities wasn't even finished at that time, and football field was covered in rocks. There wasn't no baseball field or track, and fortunately the gym I think was about ready. But talk a little bit about how we transitioned from Lynn View to North.
They put the coaching jobs open, and you had to apply for one of the jobs. So we're getting ready to have interviews for the coaching job, and I was down in Florida, and Philip Myers' dad called me. He said, "Coach, do you want that job at North?" And I said, "Well, yeah." I'll tell you what. I said, "If what we haven't done here at Lynn View is not good enough to get that job, I know there's another job I can get. I don't need that." But we went on to that, and it's a tough situation. Put two rivals together. I mean, it really is. Mm-hmm. It was a no-win situation in a lot of places. If the kids from Kettering don't get what they want, it's because that I'm prejudiced. I'm just for the players from Lynn View. And a lot of cases that was true. I mean, it wasn't true that we're shutting them, but they were behind. Their program was behind what we were doing, and it take a while for them to catch up. So I really worried about it, and then we got into the thing about the principal and the administration. Well, they didn't like me at all. I mean, at all, because, you know, I had run this program over here by myself. I didn't. Mr. Matherly just let me go. So they wanted control. Everything was going. Oh, that really mattered. They screwed up. One of the successes we had is because we had that junior pro program that we worked our butts off to get everybody involved in playing basketball that we could. And they just shut that down. They didn't want anything to do with it. Why? We don't need to do that. I said, golly, you guys, you shot the rabbit.
Well, I know that I don't remember hardly anything at all about North. You know, being there for only 1 year.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess we were honored to be the first graduating class, but, you know, I didn't get the chance to meet people and know people, but, you know, down through the years, you know, my wife, Elaine, you know, she was the first four-year class.
Yeah.
And so she, you know, she kind of grew into it.
Yeah.
But, so, you know, I talked a little bit about the coaching side, about how you changed, or how you might have changed from the early days until you retired from Twin Springs. But going to North, and that first year, I know everybody had challenges.
Oh gosh.
But, you know, I guess it was an emotional time for us being juniors here at Lynn View, and knowing that wasn't going to be anymore, and we were going to Sullivan North, and, you know, they were touting us to be the small college on the hill, or little college on the hill.
College on the hill. That's what the newspaper said. College team on the hill.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that set us up for failure right there at the beginning, because, you know, if everything didn't fall into place, it was going to be a failure. Mm-hmm. I told them about it too. I said, you shot us in the back. And we had a very good team. We had a lot of talent, but we didn't have a fit. We didn't have a point guard. Mm-hmm. Now, Greg Powers was a sophomore, but he wasn't ready. I didn't think he was ready for that. And so you ended up having to come and play the point. So we had 4 post players that could all play. Mm-hmm. And we had 2 wings, or 3, J.M. Baker. We had 3 wings and 4 post players and no point guard. And it hurt us bad. It took away from what you could do, because you were having to handle the ball all the time. So I've often said we didn't have a fit. We just didn't have a fit.
I remember one night, I remember that first team, and everybody on our starting 5 was 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", except me.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the little guy.
Yeah.
And I remember we were over at DB one night, getting ready to go in to play DB, and we were going in that back entrance over at the Dome.
Yeah.
And there was this little old lady. She probably wasn't even 5 foot tall. And I remember her walking down there, and she said, "Where's that Crawford boy at?" And I said, "That's me, ma'am." And she looked up at me. She said, "You ain't Crawford." Said, "You're too tall to be Crawford." Because out on the court, I looked like I was about that tall compared to everybody else on the team. So, you know, we were fortunate. I mean, we had height.
Oh, yeah.
And we had
skill.
Yeah, had great talent. We just, like you say, we just couldn't make it mesh. And
we just didn't have that fit.
Yeah. So I talked a little bit earlier, and I kind of joke about it, you know, knowing that how we expected. I mean, I kind of looked at you as like the Bobby Knight of high school basketball.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
Throwing that towel and whipping it at us and throwing balls and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that, I don't even know if you remember this or not, but I kind of became your chaplain, your team chaplain over at North for a little while.
Yeah.
I didn't get to do a whole lot with it, but I remember coming down before one of the games, and I came into the locker room expecting to do like the team prayer.
Yeah.
Well, you ended up doing it, and it blew me away. And I was so tickled that you did that. I thought, man, he has really changed from the early days to now. So I appreciate it. So tell me about your golf game. I know you still love the golf.
Golf is the greatest of games because I'm 81 years old and I can still play. I can't play quite as well as I could, but I can still play and compete. It's a lifetime game. I couldn't shoot a hoop no matter what. But it's great. I love golf is one of the toughest games. It is not only physically challenging, which it is, it's mentally challenging and it's emotionally challenging.
So you talk about, golf, and I go back to the thought about you talking to athletes about having a killer instinct, and I didn't know what that meant because I was always concerned about everybody around me.
Yeah.
I never, ever, in all the team sports I ever played on, ever thought that I was good as my other teammates. Never thought it. It never entered my mind that I was a decent ball player.
Oh.
But if it comes to individual sports or doing other things that's on me, I'm going to bust it and I'm going to be better than you because I want to be the best.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned what the killer instinct was. I wish I'd have known that, and I could have made my teammates better, and probably we could have got you that state title you always wanted. So you go to Sullivan North and you finish out your career there. You retire from the Sullivan County school system, then you go to Twin Springs. Tell me a little bit about how that experience was.
Blessing. An absolute blessing. I'm standing in my backyard, and my neighbor who's directly behind me is Ralph Quisenberry. And he was the director of the vocational school in Scott County. And he came up to me and he said, they're having a hard time finding a coach at Twin Springs. I said, God, I can't believe that. They've had a good program there. He said, well, let me rephrase that. He said, they're having a hard time finding an acceptable coach. Would you be interested in it? I said, well, he knew I wasn't happy at North. I said, well, I'll talk to him about it. He said, okay. So I was fooling around in the yard, and I went in the house and the phone rang. It was Jim Scott, superintendent of Scott County Schools. He said, hey, this is Jim Scott. You interested in this job? I said, well, yeah, I'll talk to you about it. He said, well, good. Come over here in the morning. So I said, well, okay. So I called him at North and told him I wasn't coming to school that day. Now, see, Jim Scott, he was in trouble because he had taken Scotty Vermillion, who was Twin Springs coach, and moved him to Gate City. Now, Twin Springs doesn't like Gate City. It's kind of like people here don't like Dobyns-Benning, only it's worse. It's worse. So he's under pressure to get somebody that the people will accept. So I walk in there and he said, let's go up there. We went up there and we met a couple of players, two or three of the players. and one of them was 6'9". And yeah, and so we showed me around the place we'd played over there. I knew. So we get back in the car. He said, "You can have this job if you want it." He hadn't talked to me about teaching nothing, you know. I said, "Well, you better let me think about it." So I said, "Well." So I came home. I got some lunch. Came home. Phone rang. Jim Scott. Thought about it? I said, "Well, I'll take it." So we go in there, and it's hilarious. We go practice the first time. Well, we go in, and I meet with the players and everything, and we talk. And I came home, and I told my wife, I said, "I've died and gone to heaven." These guys, they all said, "Yes, sir," and "No, sir." And I said, "Lord have mercy." So we're having a meeting, and I had Drew with me, my towhead. He was born in '97, and he's like 5, you know, and he's into everything. And they said, "Coach, you got your grandson with you?" I said, "No, boys." Of course, I was 60. I was 61 at that time. I said, "No, boys." I said, "That's my youngest son." They said, "Really?" I said, "Boys, just because there's a little snow on the roof don't mean the fire's out in the furnace." So we're going to go, we're having our first practice. I mean, and I was really fortunate. My assistant coach at Twin Springs was a lot like Bobby Way. And he's still one of my best friends, Jerry Fields, and a really good basketball coach too. And so we're practicing. We hadn't been practicing 30 minutes, and the principal comes in and says, Hey, y'all got to be at camp over at Daniel Boone. At 11 o'clock, we already paid for it." So we load up in cars and go to Daniel Boone. Now listen, we're scrimmaging, and I don't know their names. I'm calling them Elmer and Rufus. So we get ready to toss it up there. They say, "Coach, what are we going to do?" I said, "Well, I had Tyler Webb, the 6'9" kid who was an all-district player as a sophomore. He's a junior." I said, "Well, Tyler, who we want to start?" He said, "Well, okay. I say, Kendall, you take this, and no. Keith, you play point guard." I said, "Well, okay." They said, "Well, I said, "We're going to play man. I know y'all played some man. That's what we're going to do, play man." They said, "What are we going to do on offense?" I said, "Well, I don't know, boys, but we got this big old guy here. Let's chuck that thing in there and see what he can do." So we chuck it in there, and as soon as we throw it in there, he throws it back out. I called timeout. I said, "What the hell are you doing?" He said, "Well, they were open." That's why I don't care. You got to score. You score right down here, and it'll change the whole game. And that means they'll come to double team you, and somebody will be open. You score.
You said that same thing to me one night at North.
Yeah.
I was you took me out of the game like 2 or 3 minutes into the game and set me on the bench. You said, "You're in the game to shoot. If you ain't gonna shoot, you're gonna sit over here with me."
Yeah, I remember that. You were the shooter. Bobby said, "You're gonna have to make him shoot." I said, "Well, we will. We'll make him shoot."
So did the big guy ever?
Oh God, hey, he's a 2-time All-State player. Great kid. Tremendous kid. Great character. Played, was captain of the team at Appalachian State. I mean, he's terrific player. And then we had a sophomore point guard named Keith Warner. Now, of all the kids I ever coached, this is the most competitive kid I ever saw. God dang, he's like a blind dog in a meat house. And we're practicing half-court defense, he's up here guarding the ball, and the ball goes over, and he's over there, and he's down here and over there. And I called Tommy out. I said, "Come over here, buddy." I said, "God, I love your hustle. I love your enthusiasm, but you can't guard anybody on the floor." He said, "I'm trying." I said, "No, that's not what you do." Okay. Oh. He's funny. We go scrimmage in, and the first 2 times we get the ball, we get the rebound, I throw it to him, and he's got this other really good player named Mark Dockery running the floor. Well, he throws it to him, and it hits up on the wall a couple of times. Called timeout, brought him over, put him on. I said, "Now, love your hustle, love your enthusiasm." I said, "But if you turn that bitch over, you're going to be sitting over here with me." And he was. He came and sat with me for a while. But he terrific. He was a sophomore that year. He had one of the greatest senior years of any kid I ever coached. I mean, he completely turned the corner. Now, he's the football coach at Twin Springs. And he has brought success. The first year, this was his 4th year, I think. 4th or 5th year. The first year he was there, they had 17 players that didn't know whether they was going to have enough to have a team or not. The last 2 years, he's won the district. I mean, the guy, he's remarkable, remarkable kid. And Tyler Webb is a basketball coach too. He took them to the Final Four year before last. He had 2 real good players this year. But great kids, and Twin Springs is a special, special place. The fans there are fantastic. Most of them are senior citizens. I mean, we had a guy there that hadn't missed a game since 1967. Finally passed away. But it's a magical place. We had a great faculty. We had great coaches, great kids. We only had probably less than 200, but terrific. It revitalized me. And I coached until I was 75, and then the last 4 I coached the coaches then.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Coach, I thank you for taking time to be with me, and it's an honor to be able to sit down and talk to you. But with the emergence of social media and the way that's influencing everything, and nowadays there's this big talk of legacy. Everybody's talking about legacy. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? So if you could talk to all your former students, former players, even teachers that you taught with at Lynn View and North and Twin Springs, what would you want them to remember you for?
Jeez. That I tried hard. I tried to do the right thing. I tried, in coaching, they say all coaches are egomaniacs. In a sense, that's true. But it never was about me. I was for the kids. I wanted to see them be successful. And if I thought they could be and they wasn't trying, I was pushing them. Mm-hmm. And I pushed them to be better. I didn't do it perfect, or far from it, but I did it. I did it my way. And I don't know what that was. I didn't exactly figure that out, but I could take somebody else's offense or get one out of a book and everything, but I always turned it around a little bit. Did it my way. Boone, it's great talking to you. I always have the utmost respect for you, the way you handled yourself, and I'm sorry that I didn't make you go to Richmond.
Well, I wanted to go to Vanderbilt. I think I told you that.
Yeah.
I know that, I ended up at Florida State, but, the Bible tells us that a man plans his way, but it's the Lord who directs his steps.
Exactly.
And I believe that, I was there, but I knew, even as a freshman, I knew that there was some reason why I was there, but it wasn't basketball.
Yep. Well, I felt like that many times because when I came out of college, when I came out of high school, my greatest goal was to play college basketball. I fell in love with basketball early because it was a sport that I could do by myself and get better. I didn't need to have anybody else. I could dribble it, I could shoot it, I could run, I could jump. I didn't have to have anybody else there to do it. But if baseball, you can't do it by yourself. Or football, you can't do it by yourself. So I fell in love with basketball. So I came out of high school, I got a scholarship to, a partial scholarship to King College. Well, I'm going to King, and I was supposed to report on Monday. Well, on Thursday, Tuesday, I go to the doctor, and I have a lump on my shin. And the doctor took one look at that and said, well, we got to have this removed. It might be cancer. I said, what? The coaches just told me it was a bone bruise. I said, well, okay. So that's on Tuesday. Wednesday morning, I'm in the hospital. I wake up during the surgery, they got a hammer and chisel. They hear chisel out by the bone. When my whole life blows up. I woke up in a hospital with my mother there with our minister, Dr. Reverend Kirk Allen of the First Presbyterian Church of Kingsport. And I wake up and I got a cast on up here and it's all bloody. I woke up and I said, they've cut my damn leg off. and my mother reached across there and smacked the tar out of me. She said, I don't care if they did, you're not talking like that. Well, so I got to go Monday, got to go to school. I'm going to cast on up to here, crutches. Well, we got to find up there in the dorm. They just have showers. Well, I can't take a shower. So I've got to come home. I come home, and when another friend of mine is going to King, he said, well, we'll commute. Well, after 4 or 5 days, he quits. I can't drive. So I have to go on to East Tennessee. And I was really one angry person. Why did this happen to me? I had everything planned out. Mm-hmm. So I go to Eastman and get a job. It took me about 2 days. I went home and told my dad, I said, if I do this the rest of my life, shoot myself. So we go. And I can remember I went there, I waited till the spring. I said, well, I'm going back to school. So I went in and told my foreman. He took me in there to see the superintendent. And he said, son, I can't believe you're going to give up a good job like this. I said, Mr. Adams, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but the only good job I see in here is the superintendent's. So I went on back to school, and then when I got out of school, I was planning on going to law school. But I didn't have any money or anything. And Coach Clevenger, A.B. Clevenger, one of my best friends in high school, been playing professional football, got the assistant coach's job here. Well, the guy, see, this is all fate. Good Lord made this happen. I mean, he really did. I think he knew this was the place for me, because the boy was going to be the head coach, was in the Army and couldn't get out. So A.B. became the head coach, and he told me, he said, hey, you got to come over here and help me. I said, why did he said, well, I'll teach you everything you need to know. I said, I don't know about that. Finally, he said, listen, you come over here and help me this fall, and you can get this teaching job, and you can save your money and go to school, law school after first semester. I said, okay. Hell, that was 59 years ago. So, I mean, that was meant to be, I think. I just think that the good Lord wanted me here. And I didn't cuss near as much at Twin Springs as I did while I was here. But like I told you, my daddy was a cusser, and my granddaddy was a grand champion.
Well,
but I never meant anything by it.
yeah. Well, go ahead.
I loved my players. I think most of them knew it. I wasn't always right or always perfect or anything, but I cared about them.
Yeah. Well, Coach, thank you so much.
Yes, sir,
I
buddy.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Wish you the very best.
Wish you the best. Anything else we can help you with, let me know. All righty.
Well, I want to just say another special thank you to Coach John McCrary for taking time to spend with us here and talk about memories from Lynn View and Sullivan North and Twin Springs, and just telling some good stories. But if there's other coaches or teachers or maybe even other friends or athletes that you know out there that you'd like to see us call or talk to, or you'd like to see us interview, you can reach me at fameministries@gmail.com, or give me a call, contact us through social media, and we'll try to make those things happen. So thank you so much for being a part of this interview with Coach John McCrary, and catching up with the Crawfords, the Crawford Property Group, Fame Ministries, and Fame Media Productions. God bless, and we'll catch you on the next show. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to be with me. If you have just a few more seconds, I'd like to just share with you from my heart. We're living in a world that is dark, and it's getting darker, and many are struggling to find hope. But there's a beacon of light, a guiding hand that is creatively reaching out through media to offer hope and encouragement. And I want to say welcome to Fame Ministries, where we believe in the power of love and the compassion through Jesus Christ. We're working tirelessly to make a difference in what many refer to as the corrupt American media. We are driven by our faith, compelled by the teachings of Jesus Christ to serve and uplift those who are facing hardships. But we can't do it alone. We need your support to continue this vital work. Your generous donation or your sponsorship of one of our videos can provide opportunities to reach farther than we thought possible. Your contribution can bring hope to the hopeless, healing to the broken, and a brighter future to those who have lost their way. Together we can make a difference. Together we can transform lives. Your gift, no matter the size, will be used to reach farther than past generations simply because of the new media opportunities, giving hope and encouragement to the hurting. Will you join us in this mission of compassion and love? Your support can change lives, restore dignity, and create lasting impact. I hope that you'll visit our website at www.fameministries.org to make a donation today, or you can mail your contribution to P.O. Box 3216, Johnson City, Tennessee 37602. The links will be made available also on the platform wherever you're watching this from. Together, let us be the hands and the feet of Jesus, spreading love and hope and light to all corners of the world. God bless you. Thank you so much again for watching, and I hope and pray that if no one's told you today that they love you, that you know I do. God bless. Take care.